you see that bottle? You're welcome.
Florida man.
Apologies for the technical difficulties and the connection dropped, but Pete Durkee picking himself up a line drive single, so runners on first and second here with just one out in the fifth.
Now batting for the Saints, third baseman, number 16, Jason.
So the number keeps going up as I'm trying to say. So 10 runs on now 14 hits. You're not even through 5. And additionally, the Saints have picked up 5 free bases. They have walked 4 times and have been hit by 1 pitch. And again, also reaching on an error, looping liner into right field. That'll drop in. Lavana will be held at third base. The Saints pretty much just going station to station. And Jason Gonzalez is now 2 for 2 after that broken bat single.
That's pretty much exactly what's going on right now. 3 straight singles from the Saints, and now Evan Russell coming up to the plate. I literally have no words. I have no words because this Saints offense has absolutely exploded here tonight against the Barons.
First pitch slider misses high to Russell, who was 2 for 3 on the evening, is doubled, grounded out, and singled. Jackson with the bases loaded, working from the stretch, or excuse me, from the windup. Swing and a miss from Russell, and evens up the count at 1. So talking about really no empty boxes in the scorebook. 15 hits, 4 walks, a hit by pitch, and reaching on an error. 6 additional free bases. Check swing, peeled down to first base. They say he won around. And it's a 2-2 count to Evan Russell.
You know, when the score is 10-1, borderline calls are going to start going against you. That time, Russell looked like he might have been able to hold it up. I personally think he did go around, but it was borderline, could have gone either way. We see it go in favor of the Barons.
So the full count pitch, fly ball into shallow left center field. That'll drop in between everyone. And once again, it's another single from the Saints, and base runners moving up station to station, and it's an 11-1 ball game.
4 straight singles, and like you said, tacking one more run on the scoreboard with the chance of adding a couple more. Still only 1 down here in the 5th inning.
That ball from Russell just hit it into no man's land. Center fielder, too far for him to get and for him to be able to reach it in left field. We talk about how left field is the biggest part of the ballpark. And so with Blandino having a lot of ground to cover, he was too far back to be able to field that one as well. Very high fastball to Thomas McCarthy.
And with that single, it clinches the fact that the fewest amount of batters to come up to the plate so far in an inning for the Saints was 5, and that was in the 2nd inning.
Ball gets away from Shanks to the backstop, and by the time he picks it up, everyone has moved up, including Pete Durkee from third, and it's now a 12-1 Saints lead.
And this is just one of those games where everything seems to be going the way of the Saints and everything just seems to be going wrong for the Barons. The accuracy of the Barons pitchers has somewhat disappeared this evening. And there's the broadcaster's jinx once again.
2-0 fastballs in there for a called strike. I think McCarthy was taking all the way on that one. McCarthy is 2 for 2 on the night, has also walked. That one is popped foul and out of play behind the plate. 2-2 to the Saints backstop. Runners on second and third with just 1 out. Swing and a miss at the high fastball. And McCarthy heads back to the dugout as the second out of the inning.
Now batting for the Saints, center fielder, number 12, Christian Scott.
Yeah, Scott.
Christian Scott now in with 2 outs. First pitch swinging, lines it into right field. That'll drop in front of Marcus Johnson. Evan Russell trying to score all the way from second. Throw in is not in time. Russell getting by the tag, but he is taking his time getting up, limping away from the plate. An awkward slide.
And I believe he's going to be okay. It looks like he's gaining more and more power with every step. But that could be a devastating loss for the Saints, as Russell was brought in as an injury replacement for a couple players that left the Saints earlier in the season. Lipsius and Justin Watari left at the same time. That's when Russell and Durkee were brought into the Saints. Either way, that single off the bat of Christian Scott brought home 2, so now it's 14-1 in favor of the Saints.
And Russell rounding third and coming home. That honestly surprised me. The Saints had been going station to station previously. And so him coming around there it kind of shocked me. And he slid in the throw was pretty good. I think the tag was just a bit slow. Check swing from Forte. He went around and it's a strike 1. 0-1 count.
So Forte getting his 5th at bat in the 5th inning. Has come to the plate every single time that the Saints have.
So the Saints with 14 runs here, not even through 5 yet. They picked up 5 in the first. They did not score in the second, but scored 2 in the third, 3 in the fourth, and 4 here so far in the 5th. Forte 3 for 4 with 3 singles. 2-1 now. Tries to get him with an outside fastball, but it misses the zone. 3-1. At the end of the top half of the 5th inning, you notice the national anthem standoff was over. Hayden Harris was the guy for the Saints who would be the winner of that standoff. Fly ball into foul territory and out of play down the left field line. So it's a full count now to Forte. Christian Scott on first. He'll be on the move with the full count and 2 outs. That ball is fouled off of Shanks behind the plate. And I thought Scott would be on the move. I think with the lead they have, maybe just kind of taking it easy at this point.
Especially after sending Russell home from second base on that single. Saints probably just trying to be nice here.
Scott actually does go, but it all goes for naught as Forte goes down swinging for the final out here in the 5th. But they pick up 4 more runs, and they lead 14-1 as we head to the 6th inning. We are back for the 6th inning. The new pitchers on the mound, Race Gardner, taking over for Michael Garza as the first pitch is fouled off. We have a special guest on the broadcast. Usually we bring in some players, but with pretty much, I think, the only guys that we haven't talked to are all out on the field. We have an intern, Rebecca Williamson. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
We're doing fantastic,
can't
Rebecca.
really
We're doing fantastic. And Rebecca was very enthusiastic to come on to the broadcast. I saw actually a picture. I'm pretty sure that we posted it on Instagram, a picture of you wearing the headset from a few games ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Saying that you were ecstatic to join, so that's why you were my first thought.
But, like, I'm so happy that you guys are letting me do this.
Now, Rebecca, you're actually not working today's game, but you know, maybe that goes to show the atmosphere that the interns have around here, that you came out to watch the Saints play.
Yeah. Yeah, I love coming to the games, like, even when I'm not working.
And you're not the only intern that came out. I believe you brought a couple people along with you.
No, I'm here with the other intern, Grace Mikaria. And she's, like, the best ever. I'm so happy I met her this summer. She's so happy.
If you can't tell, ladies and gentlemen, the interns are all stationed around our broadcast table, so they're having a whole lot of fun right now with one of the interns on the broadcast.
Yeah.
And before the inning had even started, there was not only just in this area, there were about 4 others all surrounding just our little station around our computer.
I'd like to say that I'm famous.
So, you know, Rebecca, you were talking to us. You've been talking to us throughout the game intermittently and trying to give us ideas for questions and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick to a question that I always ask people.
Okay.
What is your go-to pregame meal as working as an intern for the Saints?
Usually before the game, if I'm at home, I'll have like a Cliff Bar because those are always solid.
Mm-hmm.
But usually if I'm really hungry, I'll get Blaze Pizza, and I get the Red Vine, and it's delicious. But I also always bring Cheez-Its to the game.
What's on the Red Vine?
It's like red sauce and then mozzarella, spinach, olive oil, sea salt, and oregano.
Okay, so pretty much just like a cheese pizza.
I guess. I like to think it's healthier, but I'm not sure.
Now, Rebecca, if I'm not mistaken, you're out of state, correct?
Yes.
So what brought you to come out here to intern for the Saints?
Well, I go to the University of Florida, go Gators, and my dad actually lives out here with my stepmom and my little brother, and they live in Burbank, so this was kind of just the perfect situation. I needed an internship to graduate, and 2 and 2 came together, and it just worked out.
And you are part of the media communications team.
I am.
What have you liked doing the most so far?
I really like the Instagram. I'm a big fan of Insta stories, so I love sitting just around the field and taking Insta stories and getting content.
Now, we would be remiss if we forgot to mention this and forgot to ask you.
Yeah,
Rebecca, you've earned a bit of a reputation around here.
I have.
You have earned the reputation of a ball magnet,
Yeah.
and you have, as I said, earned that one.
Yeah.
You've been hit by 2
Yes.
line drives so far this season. I briefly mentioned it earlier in the game. One was in batting practice, and then one was a line drive in game into the Saints dugout.
The very first game.
The very first game of the season. That's right. It was Mitch and I on the call for that one as well. You know, what does that newfound reputation really mean to you?
Okay, so honestly, it's pretty funny being known as the person that gets hit with all the balls, but it also kind of isn't fun because I think everyone doesn't expect you to actually know what's going on half the time. Because the BP one was a complete accident. That one was kind of on me, but I just wasn't paying attention. And the first one was on me too because it was in the middle of the game and I was right in front of the dugout. So honestly, like, I think everyone just doesn't think I know what's going on, but I know. I'm aware. So.
Ball is lined into the gap, and that'll get to the wall. Logan Pollock, who was on first, he's racing around, and he will score standing up throw in at home. Made it sort of a close play, but it's now a 14-2 ball game. The Barons starting to claw back. Maybe.
Now, I do have to just make sure everyone at home knows you're okay, right? You know,
Yeah.
you fully recovered from all those.
Well, the first one was just a nice little bruise on my thigh. It was kind of gnarly, but it was cool for a minute. This hip one's kind of been a little bit of a pain because it hit me right on the bone and swelled up, and the bruising's pretty much gone. But I now have a hematoma, which is like a blood clot.
Oh,
That's not so fun.
I just want to make everyone aware to like make sure you know when people are hitting baseballs because they really hurt.
so I guess this goes as a lesson to all you guys to understand what it means to be going out onto the baseball field. You know, make sure you're being safe because you are taking your safety into your own hands when you go out there onto the baseball field.
Definitely.
Especially when, you know, line drives are being hit. Either way, Rebecca has recovered. She's
I'm
doing
fine.
fantastic.
Thank you for your concern.
I just wanted to make sure you were okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We like to look out for our fellow
For the
interns.
fellow interns. No, I'm so happy we've all gotten so close.
It's definitely been a really fun summer, and that actually cues me into my next question. What has been your favorite moment so far of the summer?
My favorite moment so far of the summer, honestly, just becoming close with everyone else, becoming close with the interns has been really fun. And yeah, I love the bus rides. Honestly, like the 4-hour bus trips to SLO are honestly kind of brutal. But I think that's going to be one of the things that I come back to Florida and can say that I've actually done. Like I've actually traveled on a team bus back like 2 games to and from, just hanging out,
Now
keeping ourselves entertained.
the other bus ride that I heard was at least pretty brutal. I heard you. I guess you guys were in a van behind the bus. One of the I think it was the first game in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
The bus broke down on the way out there.
Yeah, but we actually got kicked off the bus prior. So they said they were going to take the interns in a van. And so that happened, and it was pretty funny because right when we got into the van, they got a call that the bus broke down.
I was broadcasting that game, and I went up earlier separately with some family, and Nick Gorman, one of our general managers,
The best.
was telling me that they were expecting originally, by the time they were leaving, to get there close to 4 o'clock. It was a 6 o'clock game time, being there at 4 o'clock, ready for batting practice. I don't think you guys showed up till about 5:30.
No, because we definitely waited behind the bus for at least, like, probably 40 minutes to an hour, and then the traffic was so brutal. We took the exit off Summerland and just drove through Summerland.
Yeah, the 134 and the 101 are not the most fun to travel on.
No. And it was a Saturday. It just wasn't really the best time.
Well, most of the games that have been played in Santa Barbara, if I'm not mistaken, it's been all the games that have been played in Santa Barbara have been Saturdays.
Yeah.
And that cues me into the next game for the Saints will be tomorrow, and that's in Santa Barbara. And once again, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Mitch and I on the call for that
It
one.
is.
So make sure you guys tune in for that as well.
And I'll be there.
And Rebecca will be there. She'll be working the media team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Race.
Called strike 3 to end the inning after 5 straight foul balls from Shanks. And with that, that spells the end of the top of the 6th.
That's awesome.
And with that, Rebecca, our time on the broadcast has come to an end.
This was so awesome. Thank you guys for having me.
Glad you can be
Thank
on.
you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Bottom of the 6th inning here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field. It's a 14-2 ball game in favor of the Saints. Once again, we'd like to thank intern Rebecca for joining us on the broadcast. Had a good time. As the first pitch to Morgan Allen bounces and misses for ball one. Julian Jackson still on the mound for the Barons.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking to see him still out there with his struggles of finding the strike zone so far this game. But at this point, I mean, there's no real point in replacing him, putting in a new pitcher. You're down 12 runs with just 3 at-bats remaining for your team.
And the third pitch of the inning is the second one to reach all the way to the backstop.
And it was not fouled off. Neither one was fouled off.
3-0. Another fastball that was buried. Shanks looking like he's in a bit of pain after that one. It's been a rough night for Shanks. All 3 pitchers for the Barons, Barabino, Sakane, and now Jackson, have all really struggled with their command. And Jackson the most in terms of wild pitches, balls in the dirt. And Shanks is really taking a beating behind the plate tonight.
Yeah, you know, I've only played catcher a few innings in my life. But one of them was catching for a guy that we called Big Nick. I was 11 years old at the time. And he was also, or no, excuse me, he was a year older. He was 12 years old, but he was 6'5". And the guy could throw low 80s as a 12-year-old. The problem was, the guy couldn't find the strike zone.
Zero command. I know that all too well. I'll let you finish your story.
So I was catching for him, you know, enjoying my time, so to say. Of the, let's see, he faced, I want to say it was 8 batters. Of the 8 batters he faced, he managed to find the strike zone once to 2 of them.
Oof, that's rough.
All the rest of the pitches were in the dirt. They weren't missing close. They were all spiked in the dirt. And I just remember looking down at my manager, just begging for some sort of breaking ball to be called, because I was so tired of taking an 80-mile-an-hour fastball in the dirt off the chest. You know, even with all that gear, it's still, you can still feel it.
Oh, yeah. Now, I guess my experience was not as bad as yours, but it was a situation. I think I was 12, so same time, and the pitcher we had, not 6'5", but he was probably around 6 feet at that time. He was also 12. And he was a left-handed pitcher who could throw hard. So he was one of those special guys. But again, zero command. That is lined down the left field line, but just foul. And in the inning, I had to catch, and I had caught for, I think that was probably my 3rd year catching at that point. Not the entire time catching, kind of bouncing around, but I was behind the plate in that game as he was pitching. And after the first inning of him throwing, ball is grounded to second, on to short, and on to first, not in time for the double play, but they will force out Morgan Allen at second. So after the first inning, he had thrown so many fastballs in the dirt that I had tried to block that the next inning, until there was a runner on base, I kind of just tried to scoop it and kind of get out of the way. Nothing was hitting the umpire, thankfully, so he wasn't getting upset at me. But it was one of those rough experiences.
You know, sometimes that happens. I mean, it happens to the best of the pitchers, where they just can't seem to find the right release point, can't seem to find the strike zone, and it seemed to happen so far for all the Barons pitchers tonight.
And while catchers, they have the protective gear for a reason, it still doesn't, it softens the blow, but it can still hurt when a ball bounces and hits you. So 0-2 to Thomas Lovano, who is 2 for 4 in this ball game. Jackson stepping off the mound twice now. He finally has the pitch he wants and is ready to deliver. Line drive up the middle. At a one-hop poach out in center for a one-out single.
And Lovano gets his 3rd hit of the game. Moves him to 3 for 5 on the day. He's scored 3 times already this game. Every single time he's been on base, which has been 4 times now. I guess I should say every single time prior to this time he's been on base, he has come home to score. He scored. Oh, excuse me. No,
Technically,
he did not.
he did not
He did not score in the 1st inning. Good catch there, Mitch. Good catch. He missed the bag at 3rd base while rounding.
Yeah.
But he scored the last 2 times he was on base, I should say. So he has had the chance, I should say, to come around and score every single time he's been up onto the base paths.
And it looks like the Barons will be making a pitching change. After 77 pitches, Julian Jackson's night is coming to an end. We'll tell you who the new pitcher is and a little bit more about him after this quick timeout. So the new pitcher on the mound for the Barons, left-handed Brandon Mitchell out of New Orleans. Mitchell has 25 1/3 innings pitched on the season with a 7.11 ERA, is 20 earned runs. Struck out 24 batters in those 25 1/3 innings, 24 hits, and 21 walks. There's actually a new batter in the box for the Saints, Nicholas Pagan taking over for Pete Durkee. That happened right before the pitching change, as Jackson threw one pitch to Pagan before being pulled. Chopper over to first base, fielded by Hurd, tosses on to first with Mitchell covering, and there are 2 outs.
Now batting for the Saints, third baseman, number 16.
The line for
Jason
Julian Jackson
Gonzalez.
not closed. He is responsible for the runners on second and third. Right now is in 2 1/3 innings for Jackson. 5 earned runs, but again responsible for Cowley and Lovano on base. Jason Gonzalez in the box. Takes a first pitch fastball low for strike 1. So just passing the 2-hour and 15-minute mark here in the ball game. Not quite through 6 innings. Fastball misses low. So with the sun fully set and the lights on here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field, is now 70 degrees. It was right around 81 at first pitch. Line drive into right field. That'll drop. 1 run will score, and they will hold Thomas Lovano at third. So a 2-out RBI single from Jason Gonzalez extends the Saints' lead to 15-2.
Left fielder, number 8.
And Gonzalez has not been retired, well, at all tonight, I should say. He walked in his first at-bat, homered in the third inning in his second at-bat, walked in his third at-bat in the fourth, and then singled in the fifth. Now he has a single in the 6th inning, so it moves him to 3 for 3 on the day, reaching base in all 5 plate appearances.
Now Evan Russell in the box. He is 3 for 4 tonight, is doubled and picked up 2 singles. Came into this game batting .203, so a nice little bounce back game for him. As he takes the 1-0 pitch in the dirt, 2-0.
Well, it seems like he's started to right the ship this past week and a half, 2 weeks. Really, ever since the prospect game. Going into the prospect game, his average was down around 128. So bringing it up to 208 going into this game means he's been hitting the ball pretty well, and he's continued that tonight.
Chopper to shortstop, fielded by Lucio. He'll toss on to Davis at second base to force out Gonzalez for the final out of the inning. The Saints, they do pick up 1 more. It is a 15-2 lead. You're listening to the Saints on YouTube Live. You're broadcasting home for Arroyo Seco baseball. 7th inning. It's a 15-2 ball game. Race Gardner after his 2nd inning of work. First pitch into Marcus Johnson is a strike.
This is only the 25th batter to come to the plate for the Barons this game.
And how many for the Saints?
Give me a second.
Might have to count for a bit. One fastball catches the low part of the zone. It's a 1-2 count.
43 for the Saints. So 43 batters have come to the plate for the Saints versus, what did I say, 25?
So almost double. Fastball called, strike 3 on the outside corner. And there is 1 out here to start the 7th.
Now batting for the Barons.
I mentioned the fewest amount of batters to come to the plate in one inning for the Saints is 5, right? They've done that twice. They did that, or no, excuse me, they've only done that once. That was in the 2nd inning. The most amount of batters to come to the plate for the Barons in an inning is 5. That happened in the 6th inning.
And the Saints in the 1 inning, they brought 5 to the plate. They did not score any runs. That's so far been their only scoreless inning in this ball game. And the Barons, when they sent 5 men to the plate and back in the top of the 6th, they did score 1 run. 1-1 pitch is fouled into the catcher's mitt for strike 1. Big swing from Blandino, but he comes up empty. It's 1-2. Now going back to the weather again, it was pretty warm when the game started, close to 80 degrees, but there was a decent breeze blowing out to left field. Now it's 70 degrees, but there is no wind.
Yeah, if you look out towards center field, see that American flag and California flag, they're not moving at all. Just kind of hanging there on the flagpole.
2-2 pitch, cut on and missed for strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts to start the 7th inning.
And that's 3 straight strikeouts now for Race Gardner. He struck out Shanks to end the 6th. He's got 2 in a row to start the 7th. And Eddie Davis has already been victim of the K once this game. We'll see if Race can continue his streak.
First pitch to Eddie Davis misses. Does have a lot smaller of a target to pitch to here, though, with Davis. We mentioned at the beginning of the game he is 5'7".
And that might be giving him an inch or two.
5'7" with the cleats and the helmet.
He's about as tall as McCarthy squatting down right now. He has about 6 inches. Now that McCarthy's squatted further down, maybe a foot.
Weak grounder too short. Picked up by Gonzalez, but can't transfer it into his hands. Pops out of his glove as he tries to make the play.
I'm going to give that a hit, though. I think Davis had enough speed to beat that one out.
Davis is a quick man, and it was such a weak hit ball that it would have had to been a perfect fielded play, perfect fielded ball, and a perfect throw.
Hitter number 1, Trent Anderson.
So Trent Anderson now in the box, 0 for 3, reached on an error and scored in the top of the 1st. He's also lined out and struck out swinging. Runner goes, pitch taken high, and Davis will take second on the defensive indifference. Pagan wasn't even holding him on at first base.
Well, when the scoreline is 15-2, you're going to see a lot of defensive indifference, especially when a runner's standing on first base. You don't really even see any of the middle infielders cracking towards him, especially with 2 down here.
1-0 ground ball up the middle. Diving stop from Allen. The throw onto first base is not in time. just beat out by a speedy Trent Anderson. And it is first and third here with 2 outs.
What a play by Pagan as well. I mean, first of all, fantastic play by Allen, diving and then being able to pop back up and throw the ball over to first base. But Pagan wasn't expecting Allen to get to that one. He was off the bag. Fantastic recovery to backtrack, get his back foot on the bag, and still somehow come up with the high throw.
And even though you could say that Davis's run does not matter, I'm sure Gardner appreciates that play from Allen right now, keeping that run off of his line. And that first pitch misses, and once again, Barron's base runner will take second base on the defensive indifference.
What also has to help that both the runners that have advanced are speedy runners. So, you know, McCarthy not necessarily looking to target them as throwing them out. They got good jumps.
1-0 fastball misses inside to Lucio. It's 2-0. Anderson and Davis, both 5'7", listed as 5'7" on the roster. Both second basemen. Although Anderson is manning the designated hitter role tonight. They're both with great speed, and with no one holding on, Anderson is he's probably about a third of the way to third base right now. Pop up to the left side, but it'll get out of play. And with his speed and such a big lead, Anderson will score if a ball reaches the outfield. Gardner, though, doesn't want that to appear on his record. So 2-1 to Lucio. Fastball does not catch the outside corner. It's 3-1.
We've seen this a few times this season from Gardner. He gets the first guy out. In this case, he gets the first 2 guys out, and then he struggles to come up with the final out or 2. Here he's really battling for this final out.
3-1 pitch just misses the outside corner. The umpire been given that call pretty much all night, and I don't know why now in a 15-2 ball game he's decided to change his mind.
Especially in a 15-2 ball game that is 2 hours, 29 minutes old in the top half of the 7th inning. About an hour short of the mark we were at for the Santa Barbara Foresters game last Thursday, which was at 3.5 hours at the conclusion of the 7th inning.
I want to say it was probably even a bit more.
It might have been.
I think they called it close to around 9:45, 9:50, and the lights shut off at 10. But either way, it was a long game that hadn't even been completed. 1-1 to Poach after the foul ball. Long look in from Gardner, but he gets his sign. 1-1 pitch is a fastball that misses low and outside. Poach came in for Basil Williams Jr. earlier in the game. He is 0 for 1 with a fly out. Fastball just misses the outside corner once again.
And you know, once again, going back to your point, usually in a 13-run ball game, you see the strike zone expand. It kind of feels like this one has shrunk as we get later into the game.
Big hack from Poach, but he comes up empty, and it's a full count. Going back to Basil Williams coming out of the game. From what I think it goes back to that long single from Forte that was off the wall in left center where Williams tried to jump and catch it and ran into the wall. Full count pitch, misses low, ball 4. And the Barons push across one more. It's 15-3.
And that's not the ideal way for a run to score. If you're Race Gardner, you usually want to throw something that the batter will put into play at least on that 3-2-2 down bases loaded pitch. But couldn't quite get that result, and I honestly think it might have been a result of Lucio jumping off the bag at first base. That could have bothered Gardner a little bit on the mound. He looked a little bothered as he was going through his motion out there, so we'll see if he can bounce back here against Pollock.
And after 2 straight strikeouts to start the inning, 2 singles and 2 walks that pushed across a run. That fly ball is into right field, but playable by Forte. Makes the grab for the final out of the inning. Again, the Barons, they do push across one more to cut the lead to just 12 runs by the Saints. It's a 15-3 lead as we head to the bottom of the 7th. Stretch time here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field. 15-3, the Saints lead the Barons. Thomas McCarthy in the box for the Saints. First pitch in, he's cut on and missed for strike 1.
Before that pitch, I was going to make a comment about McCarthy's tendency to swing at the high fastball. That's what got him to swing and miss on the 2-2 count in the 5th inning. That time we saw him bite him on the low and inside fastball, though.
Takes that one, though. It's 1-1. Ball bounces in front of the plate. About a 58-foot fastball. And it's 2-1.
Now, I'm not sure if I just heard one of our interns correctly, but I believe they just mentioned that the guys in the Saints bullpen have resorted to a bit of a push-up contest.
It is not. It was not the Saints bullpen. It is guys over just past the dugout on the first base side, where the one player for the Barons was taking his national anthem standoff. There are some players doing some push-ups out there. And McCarthy, after falling behind 0-1 to start the at-bat, works a walk.
Fielder number 12, Christian Scott.
Well, it's cooled down a bit in this ball game, and when you're down 15-3, kind of got to do something to stay warm and keep yourself busy. Pickoff over at first base, not too sure why. It's I don't think McCarthy will be going anywhere. And
Well, they kept on trying to pick him off earlier in the game as well.
Christian Scott takes that first one low and inside.
Maybe the Barons know something we don't about McCarthy. Maybe he's a secret speedster.
I've seen McCarthy kind of move like he was kind of faking going, but he would not go in such a big lead. And now Jalen Hurd has been told to not even cover McCarthy. Big swing and a miss from Christian Scott. And that makes sense from a defensive standpoint. The runner with a 12-run lead is not going to go, and this gives you, as a first baseman, more room to be able to make a play should a ball be hit to you. Another swing and a miss, this one on a ball in the dirt, and it's 1-2 to Christian Scott.
I can't have it. I actually don't. I think that was like the only. There was less than
Ball is foul tipped, but into the mitt of Jacob Shanks. And Christian Scott is retired on strikes for the first out of the 7th.
Now batting for the Saints, right fielder.
So going back to the walk to lead
Anthony
things off for Thomas
Forte.
McCarthy, that was the 7th free bag issued by a Barons pitcher. 6 of them via walk, 1 of them by hit by pitch. So not necessarily helping themselves out on the mound, giving up 7 free bags, and I believe, well, let me do some quick mental math. 19 hits for the Saints so far this game.
And there was also an error made earlier by the Barons. You can count that as an extra free base. As the first pitch to Anthony Forte misses wide, and you are correct that 19 hits, 15 runs in. The Saints, though, they have left 10 men on base. Grounder to second, weird hop that gets on Davis, and because of that, McCarthy will be safe at second, and Forte will be safe at first.
That ball must have hit the lip or something. Davis was expecting the ball to hop up high in the air. He jumped, and then it just kind of died and ended up around his legs. Either way, Davis, unfortunately, is going to be charged with the error there. As Forte gets on base, that was his 6th at-bat of the game in inning number 7.
And that looked like it was going to be a candy hop. And again, it just, that last bounce, as you said, maybe hit the lip, and it skipped on him and just bounced off his gut and got too far away. And Forte was, with good speed, was already at first base, and there was also no chance to get McCarthy at second. Big swing from Morgan Allen. He comes up empty. It's 1-1. So it could have been an inning-ending double play. Turns into runners on first and second, 1 out for Morgan Allen. Fastball gets Allen to kind of jump out of the way of it. 2-1.
Allen's 1 for 3 on the day, despite having 5 plate appearances. He was hit by a pitch in the first and walked in the 6th. His hit came in the second inning. It was a single. He was left on second base, though. And then in the 3rd and 4th, he was retired.
Ground ball up the middle, kept in the infield. Actually, no, it actually reaches the outfield. I thought the way Lucio was playing it off as he had the ball, but McCarthy, because the ball gets into center field, comes all the way in from second to score. And it's now a 16-3 ball game.
Number 14, Wyatt Stapp.
I believe they're going to give Allen the hit there, which moves him to 2 for 4 on the day. And Wyatt Stapp now coming into the game, replacing Drew Cowley, the shortstop who got the start. So that means Cowley will finish his day 0 for 5. He reached base on a fielder's choice in the 6th. That was the only time he reached the base paths.
It was definitely a frustrating game from Cowley. He popped up twice to third base, also grounded out a couple times, but it's one of those, you hit the ball hard a few times, So can't hang your head too low, but it is rough to see an 0 for 5 in your stat line. Oh and 1 to Stapp. Fouls that one off behind the plate. And it's 0 and 2.
That ball got stuck in the fence. Might be just out of reach of a Barons player who's trying to come up and jump and poke it loose. He was maybe an inch or two short. I think I'm going to have to try that between innings.
Fastball misses inside, and it's 1 and 2. I can imagine maybe before Lovano comes up to the plate next, might walk over, try and toss his bat up and knock it loose. One and 2 curveball gets Stapp swinging, and there are 2 down.
So maybe it's just the 3-hole that's cursed, as Stapp now 0 for 1 on the day, and as we mentioned, Drew Cowley 0 for 5 on the day before exiting the game. Brings up Thomas Lovano, who has reached base 4 times, 3 times via the hit. He had a 2 RBI double in the first inning, singles in the 5th and 6th. He reached on an error by the right fielder Johnson in the 4th inning, came around to score.
It is 1 and 0 to Lovano. He takes that fastball outside as well, and it's 2 and 0. Nicholas Pagan on deck for the Saints. So 16 to 3. The Saints 16 runs on 20 hits. They've made 1 error and have left 10 men on. The Barons, 3 runs on 8 hits. They've made 2 errors and have left 7 men on. Mitchell in danger of loading the bases. .30 pitch is in there for a strike. That one misses well wide for ball 4, and the bases are loaded for Nicholas Pagan.
Well, there's free base number 8 issued by a Barons pitcher. They're averaging 1 walk per inning, and then, of course, tack on that hit by pitch. So definitely a struggle out there on the mound for the Barons. No matter who else they've put, no matter who, I should say, they've put into this game, they have struggled to find the strike zone.
First pitch to Nicholas Pagan. He takes a big hack at the slider, but wasn't really even close to it as that ball was low and outside. Now looking at all the pitchers for the Barons, so far only one has come out of the game throwing more strikes than balls, and that was Yuji Sakane. But with those 2 strikes, Brandon Mitchell has also thrown more strikes now. The 0-2 pitch. Broken bat, weak grounder over to first base. Hurd will take it to the bag himself. And that'll do it for the Saints here in the 7th. They pick up 1 more and extend their lead to 13. It is a 16-3 ball game. 8th inning here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field. In between innings, Matt, you did go over to try and knock the ball out of the fence, and you had the hops to do it.
I got my hand on the ball. I felt my fingers hit it twice. I just couldn't get the force to poke it through.
It was pretty stuck in there. When I saw that you had gotten up to it and at least tried to hit it, I was like, okay. So that ball had some force coming into the fence.
It was pretty jammed in there. I'm going to go with that story. I hope that's correct. Otherwise, I might need to work on my finger strength.
But a Saints player did come by with a bat and knocked it free after a couple tries of his own. 0-2 curveball does not catch the inside part of the zone.
You know what? I'm proud of myself that I was able to get up there, though. I'm proud of myself.
And you're the only one who was going from a standing vert. Everyone else, so the guys over from the Barons who are acting as scouts for this game, the ones who went over, they had a running start. Jack Steele, PA/broadcast intern, he tried to get a running jump. Ground ball to Stapp at shortstop. He makes the play for the first out of the inning. Stapp, who came in for Cowley, staying in the game at shortstop.
Now batting for the Barons.
He fell down as he was trying to make that throw. Slipped on a little bit of loose dirt over there, I guess. He's going and kind of softening it out, lining it all out, getting it nice and flat now. Luckily for him, he was able to complete the throw and put it on target.
Stapp usually playing either second base or third base this season. This is the first time, at least, I've seen him play shortstop.
I'd have to backtrack through my records to see if I've seen him play short before.
Line drive into center field, and that'll get in one hop. Christian Scott in center field. And it's a one-out base hit for Shanks.
Now batting for the Barons, right fielder, number 28.
I have seen him play shortstop once before, and it was a game against the Barons. It was actually a pretty similar infield to this. Pagan was at first base, Allen was at second, Stapp at short, so that's 3 of 3. The only difference, Jason Gonzalez standing there at third base, he was not with the Saints at this time. This was a game on the 19th of June. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Gonzalez was still on his way to the national championship.
Runner goes. That ball is skied into deep right field. Forte looks up, and that will one-hop the wall. Shanks, who is on the move on the pitch, will score easily. And it is a one-out RBI double for Marcus Johnson.
So the Barons add another one to their score line. They've got 4 now, and if I'm not mistaken, they have scored 3 consecutive innings now, despite only scoring 1 in the first before having, 4 straight innings of 0?
4 straight.
So the Barons offense finally starting to figure it out, starting to click a little bit here.
Foul ball lined behind the plate. Now the Saints, of the 7 innings that they have been at the plate, have scored in 6 different innings. The first and then the third, all the way through the 7th. A 1 pitch to Blandino, misses low. This is Gardner's 3rd inning of work. Runner goes to third, but that one is fouled off. I believe it went off the mask of McCarthy and went all the way to the backstop.
Blandino's 0 for 3 on the day. Been sent down via the K twice. Struck out looking in the 5th, struck out swinging in the 7th. Now he's got a 1-2 count here. Gardner looking to send him down, either looking or swinging for the second time personally.
Johnson on the move again. This one is grounded right back to Gardner. High, wide throw to first base, but Pagan is able to catch it and return to the bag. And there are 2 outs now here in the 8th.
2 outs for Eddie Davis, who was 0 for 2. Then he singled last inning, came all the way around to score. So 1 for 3 on the day with a run. The Notre Dame commit looking to drive in yet another run for the Barons, 90 feet away.
First pitch fastball misses wide. Davis, once again mentioning his height, he is 5'7", but he stands upright in the box. Can imagine how small his strike zone would be if he decided that he wanted to crouch a little bit. So that ball is skied over to Morgan Allen at second base. He reaches up and makes the grab for the final out of the 8th. The Barons, they do pick up 1 more, and it is now a 16-4 ball game. Jason Gonzalez, the man to get things going for the Saints here in the bottom of the 8th. Is 3 for 3, but has reached base safely in all 5 plate appearances. Has walked twice, singled twice, and also hit a home run. Curveball misses outside. One pitch, line drive down the right field line and out of play.
This is the 6th time through the order for the Saints, which would mean, if you give me a quick second to do some quick mental math here, I believe this is the 51st batter to come to the plate wearing a Saints uniform.
Another foul off to the right side and out of play. And now if 2 men for the Saints can reach base and Forte steps in the box, that will be the 7th time that he will have batted in this ballgame. Fastball just misses the inside part of the plate. As you said earlier, seems like the strike zone, instead of expanding, has been shrinking.
Which is the opposite of what you usually see in a 12-run ball game.
Ground ball to the right side, and it eats Eddie Davis up again. Gets all the way into the outfield. And Gonzalez reaches base for the 6th consecutive time
Now batting
in
for
this
the
game.
Saints.
And despite the fact he
Left
reaches
fielder,
base yet
number
again,
8,
he might actually be a little
Evan
frustrated,
Russell.
given the fact that that error will take away from his perfect average this game. He was 3 for 3, now he's 3 for 4, reaching on an error. Might have preferred if Davis just kind of let that one roll through the legs.
That ball is drilled into deep left field, but it'll hang up enough for Blandino to make the grab. Gonzalez will have to head back to first. Big swing from Evan Russell, but hit it to one of the deepest parts of the park.
Now batting for the Saints. Catcher,
Yeah, we
number
talked so much
33,
about the dimensions of this ballpark throughout this season. Left field, deepest part of the ballpark, and that deep fly ball, if it was hit to right field, might have been in the netting.
Also doesn't help that there is no more wind blowing out. Ball in the dirt, off the chest of Shanks.
And Shanks has just absolutely been taking a beating behind the plate so far today.
And McCarthy in the box, a fellow catcher, probably understands a bit what that can be like. 1-0 pitch. It's a slider that catches the zone.
That slider moved like a wiffle ball. Kind of hung like it was not going to move at all, and then at the last second started its movement and ran probably a solid 4 or 5 inches before ending up in the glove of Shanks.
One pitch. Fastball in the dirt, scooped by Shanks. It's 2-1. Dugouts have been relatively quiet tonight. Saints usually a pretty rowdy bunch. But I think, you know, with this big of a lead, there's no reason to try and add on to anything.
Not at all. And this game has been, well, really, it was a 4-run ball game after the first inning. Then it was a 6-run ball game after the third.
Called strike 3. McCarthy takes that backdoor slider. And there are 2 outs.
Now batting for the Saints.
It's been a
Center
double-digit
fielder,
ball
number
game
12,
since the 5th inning.
Christian Scott.
So I can imagine it's a little tough to stay involved in this ball game as a player, you know, sitting in the dugout, not really doing anything with a consistent double-digit lead for the Saints.
First pitch slider into Scott, misses outside, or misses inside, excuse me. Mitchell thought that that pitch was a strike. Ground ball to second base. Again, eaten up on Davis, but he was able to recover and toss over to Lucio, covering second to force out Jason Gonzalez for the final out of the inning. We head to the 9th inning. Saints looking to close things out, which I believe they should. It's a 16-4 ball game.
Trent Anderson.
Top of the 9th inning, the Saints going with a new pitcher on the mound to relieve Race Gardner. It is Grant Young, the sidearm lefty, has a funky delivery.
The last time I saw Young pitch was in Santa Barbara last Saturday. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 runs, 4 of them earned on 7 hits. Also with Young coming into the game, that brings about the end of the day for Race Gardner, who went 3 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts.
Off-speed pitch misses low. It's 1-1 to Anderson. Anderson's 1 for 4, reached on an error in the first, has also lined out, struck out swinging, and singled. So he pops that one in the infield. Pagan calls everyone off, makes the grab, and there's 1 out.
It was interesting if you, I'm not sure if you could quite hear it on your stream. You could hear Morgan Allen go, I got it, ball, 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 ball. And then you hear Pagan just go, nope, I got it. And everyone just kind of backed off from Pagan. A good call out because Pagan was the only one who probably could have had the right angle to be coming away from the line and not cause a collision, making the play.
First pitch swing from Lucio gets past an outstretched Morgan Allen. And Lucio trying to keep the Barons' hopes somewhat alive with a single here.
Now batting for the Barons, center fielder number 13, Christian Poche.
Christian Poche in for his third plate appearance, though he only has 1 official at bat. Has flown out and walked. First pitch is in for a called strike 1. A pitch misses, and Lucio will take second on the defensive indifference.
And there we go again with the shrinking strike zone. That was being called strike all game long. I'm not entirely sure what changed here in the top half of the 9th inning. Of course, the Saints really can't complain too much. They're up 12.
Lucio goes again and will get into third standing up. Again, chalk that up as a defensive indifference. So 2-1 to Poche. Infield for the Saints playing back, as you would expect with this lead. Line drive gets over the head of Stappen into left field. And it is a 16-5 ball game.
Barons chipping away. Little by little, they've scored in 4 straight innings. Granted, they still have 11 runs to put up on the scoreboard to make this one go an extra half inning.
So that is now 4 innings in a row that the Barons have been able to put a run on the board. It has just been 1 in each inning since the 6th. Logan Pollock is up. Poche heads to second as Pollock takes that one for a strike.
Pollock 1 for 4 on the day. He's reached base twice, though. He reached on an error by Gonzalez in the 6th inning, came around to score.
Poche goes again and is over in at third. So 0-2 to Pollock with a runner on third. Check swing on a ball in the dirt. He went around. McCarthy will throw on to first. To complete the strikeout, Poche had to hold at third. And there are 2 outs.
2 down with Jalen Hurd coming to the plate. That means a fly ball doesn't mean a run anymore.
First baseman, number 39, Jalen Hurd.
Hurd is 2 for 4 tonight. Has singled and also picks himself up an RBI double. First pitch, takes a fastball high and inside, and it's ball 1. One-0 pitch misses low. So Grant Young and the Saints 1 out away from finally finishing up this ball game. That pitch is in for a called strike 1. Pretty sure that was the first borderline call that has really been called a strike since this game has been opened up so much. Line drive into right field, but it'll hold up for Anthony Forte. And I can finally say the 4 words I've had on my mind for a while. This ball game is over. The Saints take this game against the Barons by a final score of 16-5. The Saints with 16 runs on, was it 21 hits? On 20 hits, excuse me. They made 1 error. They did leave 14 men on, and the Barons, they had 5 runs on 12 hits. They made 3 errors and left 9 men on base. Overall, a great offensive performance from the Saints, really taking advantage of all the free passes awarded to them by the Barons pitching staff.
Yeah, the Saints overall just had an offensive explosion. 16 runs. You're usually going to get a victory when you put up that kind of number, and that's what they did today. And this win is really helpful because it gets them closer to the Riptide. Like I mentioned, it's pretty much going to be Riptide versus Saints in that first round of the playoffs. It just depends on which team can finish in that second spot and have the advantage of being listed as the home team.
Well, the Saints coming into this game were 3 games back of the Riptide, and there are only 2 more league games for the Saints left, 3 more in the season before playoffs start. So they would have to win out and hope that the Riptide lose out. Michael Garza for the Saints tonight, the winning pitcher. He went 5 innings, allowed 1 run. It was unearned. Struck out 5 batters and allowed 4 hits. Matt, I got to ask for you, is there who's your player of the game?
Player of the game, probably got to go with Jason Gonzalez. 3 for 4 on the day, reached base in all 6 of his plate appearances, and he left the ballpark once. That was in the 3rd inning. Of course, there were a lot of other big performances out there for the Saints today, so it's really tough to choose just one. But my pick would be Jason Gonzalez with how consistent he was at the plate today.
Jason Gonzalez, honorable mention to Evan Russell, went 3 for 6 with 3 RBIs and also scored 3 runs. For both he and Jason Gonzalez responsible for 6 runs. So again, a great offensive performance. Pretty much every single batter in the Saints order taking advantage of the free bases, the free opportunities that they got, and they were able to capitalize. And once again, Saints defeat the Academy Barons by a final score of 16-5. The Saints improving to 17-15 on the season, hoping they can improve their their push into the playoff race. I'd like to thank everyone who was able to make this broadcast possible. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. And for Matt Berner, my name is Mitchell Lefebvre. Good night, everyone.